everyone. Welcome to Barca News. It is August 10th, 2026, and Deco has met with Natan's agent. I'm going to tell you what's that all about. Also, Julian Alvarez reporting to preseason training with Atletico Madrid today. And finally, Lautaro Martinez being considered as an option B to Julian. We have a lot to discuss. Begin. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the channel, Barca Baseball. And welcome to the Barca News Live podcast, which is on every Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Interact with you lovely people in the chat section by reading comments, answering any questions, and getting that discussion going. So start filling out the chat section with your comments, your questions, anything you want to add to the conversation. And of course, for those of you who'll be watching when the podcast ends, I will be putting timestamps in the description and chapters in the timeline in case you do want to skip through the discussion and get straight into the news, even though I do recommend against it. Because, of course, American football, hockey, etc., baseball, you can head to Fanatics. All links in the description. You click on them, you get access to some pretty cool deals and offers. And free. Specifically, Bobby, this is, of course, the 100th anniversary kit. This was worn in 1999, and it is one of my favorite kits. Again, not necessarily because of the design, but because what it means. Some bad news. I know. I complain about this. If that goes away, Lord Typhoon says, Mo, you're cutting up and freezing. May need to refresh your stream. All right, let's try to refresh. Refresh. Everybody, let me know if it's still freezing for you. I don't want to start talking about the news if I don't know for sure that the stream is good. To get some confirmation in the chat section. Let me know what's going on with the stream. Is it better now? Is it still freezing? If it is, all right. Wait. Tenaz says clearly. Okay. Let me see. Tony says stream is chopping. Simon says it's still freezing. I don't know what's going on. Let me see. Hold on. Cleared up for a bit, but then froze again. Okay. Yeah. I can see connected wire through wired. Let me see. All right, let me see. I'm going to refresh again. Down, bum. All right, so what I did was I turned off my Wi-Fi because I have my eared. It's connected directly to the router through cable, but it's also connected to Wi-Fi. I just turned off my Wi-Fi and refreshed. That way it's only connected to the internet through the cable. Let me know if it's better now. Let me know if it's better. Chat, confirm, please. Is it better now? Is it not freezing anymore? Is it not chopping anymore? Damn. In the game says still lagging. Fuck. What the hell is going on? I wonder if I should. Oh, wait. Emmanuelson. Mohammed says echo. Interesting. Carlos says freezing again, but better. What the hell? What is happening, guys? Let me see. It says chopping. Okay, the rebel pilot says Pathetic are trying to silence you from talking about Julian. Barca Mama says still choppy and your mouth does not match the sound. What the fuck? Okay, how about this? We're going to do something. And I'm going to type it in the chat section as well in case you don't hear me. I'm going to end the stream and I'm going to start a new one. Okay? So, I'm going to write it as well in case you can't hear it. I'm going to end the stream. Oh, wait. Carlos says stay. Good. Wait. We're getting some confirmation that the stream is good to go now. Let's see. Mohammed says it's just the sound here. Damn, what is going on? It's not my internet. I know it's not my internet because it's 1 gig. Carlos says you Gucci. All right. I like being Gucci. Even though I don't like the actual brand Gucci. I think they're crap. All right. Best in the game says wait. K Slim says stay better. Simon says it's good now. Sadi says we up. All right. Mohammed says good to go. All right. Emmanuel says better. Raul says it is now more cleared. All right. Lincoln says working good on my end. All right. We are in business. Edward says when electronics go bad, it means you're on a spiritual epiphany. Yeah. Barca Mama says you're good here. Hey, if Barca Mama says I'm good, then I'm good. All right. Barca Mama, she's the law, ladies and gentlemen. She's the law. If she says I'm good, it means I'm good. I can have 1,000 people telling me it's bad, but if Barca Mama says it's good, that means we good, family. We are in business. All right. I can't believe this. I don't know if it's the internet. I don't know if it's the YouTube servers. I don't know if it's my software. But whichever of you who were wasted 8 minutes, what the fuck, man? What the fuck? But anyways, all right. The good thing is that we're good. We're clear. So let's do it. Let's talk about the news. Sorry about that. I don't know what that was. I don't think it's my internet. I have 1 gig of internet and like real 1 gig internet. It's fiber optics. I am wired. I don't even run the Wi-Fi. Both my desktop and this computer completely wired directly to the router. But it might be my software. It might be YouTube servers. I don't freaking know. What's important is that we can talk about the news. So let's begin with the news. Because, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to start this podcast with bad news. Yes. And no, I'm not talking about the whole choppiness that we just had, but we have bad news because, ladies and gentlemen, Roony Bardarji has injured himself during practice. And this is not good news because, of course, Barcelona no longer counts on Roony Bardarji. Barcelona met with, or Hansi Flick met with the player and informed him that, he's not going to be getting the minutes that if he wanted to stay, that's fine. But with Lamine, Adeyemi, Rafinha, Anthony Gordon, they're all ahead of him in the pecking order. So the likelihood of him getting minutes is going to be very, very small, right? He already got very few minutes last season, and we just signed 2 more wingers. So if he barely got any minutes last season, he's definitely not going to get any minutes this upcoming season. But with Barcelona having signed 2 more wingers, So, of course, Barcelona were hoping to sell Roony Bardarji to transfer him on to make a permanent transfer for the player, hoping to make around 15 million euros. That's his market value. Of course, Barcelona signed Roony Bardarji for 2.5 million euros. So selling him for 15 million euros would have been one hell of a deal. But the bad news is that Roony injured his knee during training today. And that, of course, is bad news because, well, the likelihood of selling a player who's injured, well, it's very, very low. Now, Barcelona are going to have to conduct more medical testing on the player, but preliminary reports are stating that it might be a serious injury and that Roony Bardarji could be out as long as 8 months. No, that was not a typo. Well, it's not really a typo because I'm speaking. But it was not a typo in my notes. But yes, preliminary notes say that Roony could be out for 8 months. Now, I want to make this clear. Barcelona will conduct more medical tests. And once those tests are conducted, we'll know more. We'll know the extent of the injury and we'll know how long Roony will be out. So those 8 months calculation, that's only preliminary. It's not 100% sure. Now, this is the same knee that Roony had already injured himself. As you might recall, I think it was like 2 seasons ago, Roony Bardarji had that phenomenal performance against Manchester United in the Premier League. He immediately caught everyone's attention. He became the hottest commodity in Europe. Everybody wanted to sign him. And then, boom, he blew his ACL. He was on the sidelines for a whole year. And, of course, all the interest in him died out. And this is how Barcelona were able to sign him for 2.5 million euros. And now it looks like he might have blown that same ACL. Again, it's not 100% confirmed. There's going to be more medical exams in the upcoming days. But it's not looking good for Roony Bardarji, which also is not looking good for Barcelona because, well, any chances of or any hope of selling Roony Bardarji this summer pretty much just went up in the air. Now, the next bit of news is in regards to Ferran Torres, the sardine. Ferran Torres, who all of a sudden thinks he's a shark because he scored 1 goal in the World Cup. But the update is that PSG just made their first official offer for him worth 40 million euros, which Barcelona have rejected. Now, of course, Ferran Torres had been flirting with the idea of joining PSG for quite some time. He even went on a media tour here in the U.S. talking about, Barcelona needing to show him love and, the possibility of leaving. Of course, Barcelona up to that point, their position was, we haven't heard any offers from PSG. We haven't heard from the players. So for us, it's business as usual. We expect Ferran to show up to the preseason. We expect to renew him in September unless he tells us otherwise. And well, lo and behold, over this weekend, Ferran Torres called Barcelona to let them know that he does want to go to PSG, that he has a full agreement with the Parisian club to join them for 4 seasons where they're going to offer him a higher salary than what Barcelona were willing to offer him. So, of course, since this is not Patético Madrid, we're not that pathetic small club. We don't hold players prisoners. Since Ferran told Barcelona that he wants to leave, Barcelona said, okay, fine, we'll negotiate with PSG. PSG made the first official offer worth 40 million euros. And, of course, Barcelona said, if you want this the best striker in the world, you're going to have to offer more. Now, Barcelona have reportedly valued Ferran at 65 million euros, but it's likely that this operation will close around 50, 55. It's all about meeting in the middle. Barcelona wants 65. PSG are at 40. Both PSG is going to have to come up. Barcelona's going to have to come down, and they're going to have to meet somewhere in the middle, maybe 50, maybe 55 million. We'll see. But the first offer by PSG has been rejected, which, of course, good job, Deco. Good job, Barcelona, because, we need at least 50 million euros for this bum. After all, right now, thanks to that goal he scored in the World Cup, thanks to the whole media campaigning that he's doing, his value has gone up. And, well, we need to cash in on this, even though, honestly, even if he leaves for free, I would be happy because I've been wanting Ferran out of this club since day one. Because one thing this guy doesn't realize is the only reason he's here at Barcelona is because Barcelona signed him during a time where we needed to renew our squad, where we were broke, so we couldn't afford anything better. So honestly, the only reason this guy ever played for Barcelona, had the honor of playing in Barcelona, had the privilege of playing for Barcelona, was the fact that we were in a very bad shape. So it's nothing more than circumstances. He should be grateful for that. Apparently he's not, but fuck him. I hope he has a good time in Paris, warming their bench instead, right next to Dro. Now, the last bit of news is that Ronald Araujo's move to Liverpool has been officially confirmed by both clubs. Of course, I brought this news to you, I think it was Friday, where I informed you that Barcelona had reached an agreement with Liverpool for Araujo to join them on a one-season loan with an option to buy. Liverpool are going to cover 100% of the salary of Araujo, which, of course, is great news because Barcelona get to remove his salary from their wage bill. Not to mention, this will be a good chance for Araujo to try to convince Liverpool or other clubs to make an offer for him, since honestly, he doesn't really count that much for Hansi Flick. And well, now this move has been officially confirmed by both clubs, with Liverpool publishing the pictures that you're seeing currently on your screen of Araujo joining Liverpool, where I wish him the best. I hope Araujo absolutely kills it in the Premier League. I hope he impresses Liverpool and other clubs. That way Liverpool can activate the option to buy, or if it's not Liverpool, it's someone else, because as I said a few moments ago, I don't think Hansi Flick counts on Araujo at all. I mean, we've seen obviously Cubarsí and Gerard Martin are the two starting center backs, but we've seen other players, including Álvaro Cortés, an academy player, start ahead of him. So I hope Araujo, I wish Araujo the best. I hope he does really, really well so he can end up going somewhere else, since he doesn't really count for Barcelona. I think Araujo will do really well in the Premier League. I think, Araujo is a great defender. As bad he is for Barcelona, I think he's a great defender. I mean, he's tall, he's big, he's strong, he's very physical, he's fast. He's great in one-to-one duels. He's great in with air balls. The only problem is, of course, he doesn't have that capacity to distribute the ball, to make forward runs, to make those forward passes, something that's required for Barcelona center backs, but not necessarily required for center backs from other teams, right? Not everybody plays with all 11 players. Not everybody attacks with all 11 players, right? So just like we need goalkeepers who are good with their feet, we also need center backs who are good with their feet. And that's not a requirement for all clubs. So just because Araujo doesn't really fit in Barcelona's system doesn't mean he won't fit in other systems. I think he's a great center back. I really, really wish that he does great in Liverpool, and that way they will sign him on a permanent transfer. Anyways, that's all for the first segment. Let's do some comments, and then, of course, we're going to talk about Deco contacting Natan, which, if you ask me, the biggest question here is, what the fuck are we doing? But anyways, so we'll talk about that in a little bit. I'm going to get ahead of myself. Java the Hut says, I thought players learned what happens when people leave, thinking the grass is always greener after leaving Barca. Look at Neymar, Dro. I guess Ferran wants to sit on the bench and see his career end. I mean, look, honestly, I'm not even mad, because if Ferran does think that the grass is greener, that's awesome. I want him to think that the grass is greener, because let's not forget, Barcelona have tried to sell him several times in the past, and he's always said no. He's always insisted on staying. And this is the first time where not only Ferran wants to leave, but it's actually him who has initiated the whole move. So if he thinks that the grass is greener, I'm not going to convince him otherwise. I'm going to tell him, yes, absolutely, bro. The grass is greener, man. The grass is really greener. You should leave. Because I've been wanting him out for so long. He should have never played at Barca, period. I mean, he signed for Barca just out of circumstances, right? Bad circumstances. Barcelona needed to rebuild their squad. We were broke. We couldn't afford anything better, and that's the only way we signed Ferran. That's the same reason why we signed Braithwaite. Was Braithwaite ever Barca level? Fuck no. Not even close. But we signed him because we couldn't afford anything better. Well, same thing with Ferran. Was he ever Barca level? Fuck no. But we signed him because we were broke. And, now it's time for him to leave. And if he thinks it's because the grass is greener, then fuck it. Let him think that the grass is greener. I'm all for it. Shit, I will convince him myself that the grass is greener, even though it's not. But, I mean, if that means him leaving, and not only leaving, but bringing money into Barcelona's pocket, then absolutely. Absolutely. Mohammed says, Alvarez talk, let's go. We'll talk about him in a little bit. Mark says, Natan, thumbs down. Martinez, thumbs down. Which Martinez we're talking about? Are we talking about Lisandro? Licha? Anyways, let me know. Zaidi says, I keep hearing that Rodri transfer will complete soon. Mo, any update? No updates yet? The only update was that Barcelona made a first bid. It got rejected because it was 40 mil. Obviously, Man City understand that Rodri's contract expires in the summer, next summer. But just because it expires next summer, they're not just going to give him away. Obviously, they can't charge 100 plus, which what he would usually be worth. But, it has been rejected. Barcelona are negotiating. The goal is to finalize this move before Wednesday. Why Wednesday? Because Rodri was set to report to training on Wednesday for Man City. So the idea is for him, instead of having to fly to Manchester, report to training, and then close the deal, then fly to Barcelona, the idea is for him to finish vacation and just head straight into Barcelona's training, preseason training. So since that's the deadline for everybody, that's the deadline for Barca, that's the deadline for City, that's the deadline for Rodri, then I hope and I pray that we should hear, hopefully by tomorrow, that this whole thing has been finalized. But negotiations are underway. And obviously, as soon as I hear, I will be here to tell you all about it. Kid Prodigy says, what's up, Barca Mama and Mo? Finally catching a live stream for the first time since before the World Cup. We missed you, bro. We missed you. We're glad you are back. I hope you are back for, longer, more often. But it's good to see you again. And Tony says, shift control escape next time to pull up Task Manager to see what was killing your processes. That's a good idea. I didn't think about that. Even though, honestly, I don't. So I have a separate computer for streaming. I have my desktop that I will use for work, for editing my videos, blah, 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 my research, everything, right? And then I have this computer that I use for streaming. And I don't have anything else on it. I just have OBS, which I use to make my videos, to film my videos. And I have EVMux, which is honestly a browser streaming software, browser-based. And that's it. That's all I use for it. I just turn it on, I do my stream, or I film, and then I turn it off. If I film, I just turn it off and take out the memory card, put it in my other computer and edit. Obviously, if it's a stream, I just turn it on, I stream, and I turn it off. So I don't know. I don't think it was a processor issue. I should have checked. So good advice. Thank you, my friend. Mike says, hey, Mo, what's your thoughts? I'm thinking Fisnik and his team sabotaged the transfer to hold out of your Barcelona move. That's why they used failed medical as an excuse. I can't say why he failed. I don't think that's the case because it wasn't Hoffenheim. I was going to say hamburger because I'm really hungry, but it's not a hamburger. It's Hoffenheim. It wasn't Hoffenheim that completely blew this up. It was Leipzig. It was Leipzig because Fisnik passed the medical, and then it was Leipzig that backed out of the deal. They're the ones who said, oh, no, we're backing out because of the medical. So I don't know if, I don't think it's sabotaging because why would Leipzig, unless Leipzig were sabotaging it because they themselves thought, oh man, maybe this was a bad deal. Maybe we shouldn't have spent that much, or maybe he's not as good as we thought. I don't know, but I don't think it would be the player or his club or his team because they're not the ones who blew this up. It was Leipzig who blew this up for whatever reason. Dalvin C says the thought of signing Lisandro Martinez is dumb, let alone the action blows away chances 9.5 out of 10. As far as I know, there's no intention to sign Lisandro. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm behind on the news. Not that I know of. But we will talk about Natan in a little bit as soon as we do one more comment. And that's from Raul, who says, it's good to be here with you today. Keep up the good work. Visca Barça, and God bless you. God bless you, my friend, and God bless everyone watching. Visca Barça indeed. And with that, let's get back to the news because we do have to talk about Natan, because it's reported that Deco has met with the agent of the Brazilian player. Now, if you don't know who Natan is, I don't blame you. Because why would you? Because it's fucking Natan. Who cares? Just kidding. Anyways, Natan is a 23-year-old, no, 25-year-old. I don't know where I got 23 from. 25-year-old left-footed center back from Brazil who currently plays for Real Betis. He has a contract with Real Betis until 2030. He had a pretty decent season last season, and as such, he has been getting the attention of other European clubs. And well, now he considers that his chapter at Real Betis is over. He's looking for a new adventure, and between the interest in him and with him wanting a new adventure, he he has been linked to Barcelona, especially since he actually offered himself. He offered himself back when there was talks about Barcelona signing a center back, right? We were talking about Barcelona who had reached an agreement with Bastoni. There was talks about other center backs. So when there was a lot of talks about Barcelona signing a left-footed center back, Natan offered himself to the club through his agent. Now, of course, that's when Flick was focused on the season. Once the season was over, he met with Deco. He said, look, I don't need a center back. I'm happy with Cubarsí. I'm happy with Gerard Martin. I'm more worried about my attack. I want a left winger. I want a center forward. So the center back signing kind of got scrapped. Of course, fast forward several weeks later, Araujo has joined Liverpool. So now the talk about possibly signing another center back is back on the table. Deco, of course, is considering the signing of Laporte, but it's all going to depend on how much his release clause is. Initially, Gerard Romero had said that it was 12 million, which I doubt it, because if it is, I'm sure Deco would pay it tomorrow. I would pay it tomorrow if I was Deco. But other sources in Basque Country were saying, no, it's more 70 to 75 million euros. So, of course, right now, Barcelona are trying to figure out what the release clause is and whether they can pay it. But it's reported that Deco has met with Natan's agent, who, again, offered himself many weeks ago. And it's reported that Real Betis would want around 35 million euros. Now, Deco did meet with Natan's agent. This doesn't mean that Barcelona are looking to sign him. This is, of course, pretty standard where agents meet with sporting directors meet with different players' agents to see what's out there, what's available. This could be just one of those meetings to see, since the player offered himself, to see, okay, what would his salary requirements would be, what would be the transfer fee, et cetera, et cetera. And I truly hope that's what it was, because if we're going to spend 35 million euros on Natan, I'll say it again, Natan, I much rather we don't sign anyone and we just keep Alvaro Cortés. After all, I talked about in yesterday's video about how Hansi Flick has full trust in Alvaro Cortés, but despite that, his future could be uncertain, because even though the player wants to stay in Barca and Flick wants him to stay in Barcelona, if someone comes, Alvaro Cortés could consider leaving, because if someone comes, that means that his minutes would be incredibly restricted. So, of course, at 21 years old, you need to be playing, and if he's not going to be playing at Barca, Alvaro Cortés could consider getting minutes somewhere else. So if you're telling me I have to sacrifice Alvaro Cortés for Natan, no offense to Natan, but to Natan, then what the fuck are we doing? Save yourself those 35 million euros and keep Alvaro Cortés. What are we doing? Unless I'm crazy. Maybe you guys know something I don't. Maybe someone who's a Real Betis fan, who's also a Barca fan here in the chat section, can tell me maybe I'm missing something. Maybe Natan is this incredible center back that I'm unaware of. I've seen Natan play. Not that often, mostly when he's faced Barcelona, but I would not spend 35 million euros and sacrifice Alvaro Cortés for signing him. Again, unless I'm missing something. And if I am, please let me know in the chat section if I don't know, maybe I'm just clueless. Maybe I'm just talking out of my ass. Maybe my head is up my ass. And Natan is this incredible center back that I wasn't aware of, but I would not spend that much money and definitely would not sacrifice Alvaro Cortés for him. But anyways, let me know what you guys think. Let's get back to the comment section. And then we'll talk about Julian Alvarez, because, yes, there is updates in regards to the Argentine. Let's see. Buzo says his confidence is sky high right now. Worst time to sell him. No, it's a perfect time to sell Ferran Torres when his confidence is high in the sky. I mean, right now, this is honestly the best gift that Ferran could have given us, because Ferran has been a bum signing for a very long time. For 2.5 seasons, he was nobody. He was just a bench warmer that every time he came off, he was absolute shit. Under Flick, he improved, because I feel like Flick can even turn me into a good player, and I fucking suck. And under Flick, he obviously improved, but nonetheless, he was still a sub. In a Spanish national team, he's still a sub. So the fact that he scored the winning goal in the World Cup final, and the fact that he's going on this U.S. media tour, it's perfect. It's amazing. This is the best gift he could have given us, because based on that, his value just skyrocketed. You know, if he hadn't scored that goal against Argentina in the final, we would have been happy with 20 mil for him. Because remember, for the longest time, nobody wanted him, including us. Nobody wanted him. And then he scores that goal. He's going on this tour. All of a sudden, he's this hot. This is what I love about the transfer market sometimes, right? That it's, unfortunately, sometimes the transfer market, it's like the world of fashion. It's what whoever's in at the moment, right? Remember last summer, Yokres, everybody was screaming, Yokres, like he was the Messiah, right? Everybody wanted Yokres, and I was like, I don't know what you guys see in him. Yeah, he's killing it in the Portuguese league, but I mean, my dog can kill it in the Portuguese league, and no offense to the Portuguese league, right? And lo and behold, look at him now, right? And that's how the market is. It's like ups and downs. It's like one day you're the hottest commodity. The next day, nobody was thinking about you. And right now, Ferran is one of the hottest commodities. And I'm all for it. Like, that's amazing. Please, yes. Go around. Talk about how amazing you are. Have high confidence. Let everybody think you're freaking the reincarnation of Maradona and Pelé together. Like, please, yes. Because if we can sell him for at least 50 mil, bro, that's a win. Because if we would have tried to sell him last summer, we would have been lucky if we would have gotten 20 mil for him. So to be able to get 50, 55 or more, yes, please. We should all tweet and comment on every post we see about Ferran, about how amazing Ferran is and how he's the GOAT, and how Ferran is better than Messi, how Ferran has more talent in his pinky toe than the entire body of Messi. Like, yes, absolutely. K Slim says, I'm wondering if we still have first team numbers to give to the new signings. I mean, sky's the limit with the numbers, bro. What do you mean? You can be number 100. I mean, and you're only allowed 26 players. So I think we're good. That's the least of our concerns. Evgeny says, I just want the Julian saga over already. I'm tired of it. I don't care if he comes at this point. Bet on someone else. I mean, bro, I don't blame you for 1 second. But don't worry, I got an update, which it might be close to what you're wishing for. The Rebel Pilot says, seems like after being lied to, ignored, and ghosted by the club and Simeone, Julian finally decided that he's had enough and may finally go all in to force his way out of the Patético to come to Barca. I think you're being more optimistic than me, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. Solomon says, hi Mo, which Barcelona player do you think will be surprising next season with all these new signings? I already start to love my Gambian brother, Ebrima Tunkara. Ebrima Tunkara, I think, I wouldn't consider the most surprising one, because we already know that he's him, right? He is the next best thing to come out of the academy. So if Ibrima hits this road running and starts doing amazing things, I don't think it would be as surprising as someone else, because we already have that expectation of him, right? It's kind of like when Lamine debuted with the first team. Obviously, it's amazing and it's crazy and surprising to think about how old was he? 15 years old, a 15-year-old doing what he was doing. But at the same time, it wasn't a complete surprise, because we all knew that, or at least those who follows to some kind of degree the academy, we all knew that there was a guy coming up named Lamine Yamal that's gonna be the next best thing, right? And I feel like that's how Ebrima Tunkara is. We all know that to a certain degree that he is the next best thing. So if he starts killing it, obviously it is surprising to a certain degree because you're like, fuck, look at this guy, 16 years old and he's a fucking bull. But at the same time, it wouldn't be 100% super surprising because we're all kind of, at some degree or another, we expect it, right? We know he is the next best thing. So who could be surprising? That's a good question. To be like the most surprising, it has to be someone that you don't expect too much out of and ends up really surprising you. Tunkara, we are already expecting something at least, right? Because we see it. I mean, that guy's 16 years old and his physique is insane, man. He's fucking insane. He's a bull, man. I've never seen someone with that kind of physique and yet be so technical and so fast and explosive. And anyways, I can go on for hours talking about Ibrima and what he has to offer. But let me see who will be surprising next season. I think Xavi Espart could end up surprising us a lot because right now we expect good things out of him because we've seen him in the preseason. But I think he can end up surprising us more than what we actually expect. Because, if you're going to compare Brima and Xavi Espart, obviously Brima's a lot more talented, but I feel like Brima is it's the name that everybody's looking out for. As opposed to Xavi Espart, not everybody's like, oh, Xavi Espart, I can't wait to see what he has to offer, right? So yeah, I don't know if that answers your questions, but I feel like Xavi Espart. Anyways, let's get back to the news. I know that was an incredibly long-winded answer, but let's get back to the news because we do have to talk about Julian Alvarez. Because today, the Argentine reported back to the preseason training at Atletico de Madrid. Now, Julian Alvarez, of course, made his feelings pretty clear back in June during the World Cup when he announced that the best thing for him and for Atletico Madrid would be a transfer because he wanted to fulfill his dream. He didn't clarify, but of course, it was clear that he was talking about joining Barcelona because that's his dream. This, of course, this announcement came after several months after Julian met with Miguel Angel Gilmarin back in February. It's been revealed now that not only did Miguel Angel Gilmarin back in February promise Julian that he would make his move to Barcelona happen, but it's been revealed now that also El Cholo Simeone, Atletico Madrid's coach, also promised Julian the same thing. So Julian did what any sensible player would do. He was disappointed with the project. He met with El Cholo Simeone. He met with Miguel Angel Gilmarin, told both of them that he was unhappy at Atletico, that he would like to join Barcelona, and both of them promised him the same thing, that they would make sure that he would join Barcelona. But of course, Atletico Madrid would have to charge for what they think they deserve, right? Because just because you want a player, you're okay with a player leaving doesn't mean you're just gonna give him away, right? That was back in February at the beginning of the year. Obviously, months passed. Barcelona made an offer. Atletico Madrid denied that receiving that offer. They made a fool out of themselves with those tweets, saying they were gonna give away Bad Bunny tickets for Pedri, Rafinha, and Lamine. Then they reached an agreement with PSG for Julian. Then they reached an agreement with Arsenal for Julian. In other words, they did everything besides what they had promised him, which is to make his move to Barcelona happen. And that's when Julian got upset because they're like, hey, you promised me something and you're literally doing everything but that one thing that you promised me. He texted Miguel Angel Gilmarin saying, hey, what the hell? You promised me. Now you guys doing everything, doing the opposite. And Miguel Angel Gilmarin told him to F off. So Julian, being upset, went out, made those public statements saying that he wanted to leave, trying to put pressure on Atletico Madrid, but that pressure did not work. Atletico Madrid became even more entrenched in their position that Julian is not for sale. Even Miguel Angel Gilmarin himself came out and did an interview where he acknowledged Barcelona's offer, which begs the question then, why did you embarrass yourselves and pretended that that offer never came? But anyways, he acknowledged Barcelona's offer and said that Julian is not for sale, not for 100, not for 150, not for 200 million. That if anyone who wants him has to pay the release clause. And of course, Julian remained hopeful that he could still leave, but it's August 10th. and he reported today to the preseason training, and Atletico Madrid have yet to change their stance. Now, Julian was hoping to meet with El Cholo Simeone and maybe see if he could help him convince Miguel Angel Gilmarin to leave. Of course, El Cholo Simeone reportedly doesn't want Julian in his locker room because he understands one of the most basic things in football, that if you have a player in your locker room that doesn't want to be there, it's better to let him go because, the whole rotten apple theory, right? If one player is unhappy, he could cause other ones around him to also question their, I don't want to say their existence, but their, the reason why they're there, right? But Cholo Simeone wasn't there when Julian reported to practice today. Atletico Madrid was in South Korea for the preseason. They got back in the early hours of the morning from South Korea. So Cholo Simeone has given the team days off. So him and the team will be off. So El Cholo Simeone is not going to be back until Wednesday. So Julian is not going to be able to see El Cholo Simeone until Wednesday. So Barcelona are kind of waiting to see what happens after Julian meets with El Cholo, even though I personally don't think much is going to happen because El Cholo Simeone already spoke out while he was in South Korea. I reviewed those statements on the channel in yesterday's video, or Saturday's video, where he said that he pretty much is taking the club's side. That's, hey, the club doesn't want to let him go, so, he needs to stay. And in other words, ask for forgiveness and get back to work, right? Kind of like what happened with Griezmann, where Griezmann left, joined Barca, and then came back. And when he came back, he had to ask for forgiveness in the way of, working hard and turning all those whistles from the fans into applauses. So that's kind of what Atletico Madrid's position is, that Julian needs to apologize, get back to work, and earn the trust of the fans back. But Julian is still, hoping that something comes out of his meeting with El Cholo Simeone on Wednesday. Barcelona are monitoring the situation to see what happens. I personally don't have much faith in this whole thing. I think Barcelona should have moved away or along a long time ago. Seeing that Atletico Madrid are not changing their position, Barcelona should have went back to the market and try to look for another alternative, because we're talking about, we signed Gordon, we signed Adeyemi, we're trying to sign Rodri, we're considering signing a center back. And it's like we're signing every freaking position except the one that we most need, which is the center forward, right? Lewy left, Ferran's on his way out. We have literally zero center forwards, and we're talking about all these signings, and it's like, what are we doing here? Like, Atletico Madrid don't want to sell him. That's fine. Okay, I understand that Barcelona want to stick by the side of Julian because he put himself out there. He made those statements. He burned the bridges with Atletico Madrid. Awesome. That's great. Thank you, Julian, for doing that. But if Atletico are a pathetic small club that prefers to hold their players prisoners, there's not much we could do. We should just move on and try to search for an alternative, because this is not leading us anywhere. I mean, if Atletico rather see their own club burn to the ground by having a player that doesn't want to be there, whose coach doesn't want to see there, whose fans don't want there, and they're saying no to a lot of money that they could use to reinforce their squad, then fuck them. Let them burn their club to the ground. It's a pathetic small club anyway. No one's going to miss them. So let's just move on. I don't know what the hell we're doing, still waiting for this. I don't see this happening. But anyways, that's the news. You guys let me know what you think. And with that, let's get back to the comment section, and then we're going to talk about the alternative, the option B that Barcelona are now considering in case Julian doesn't come. Even though I feel like this in case thing is long gone. All right, let's see. Here we go. This is where we left off. GV says, hello, Mo. Since Araujo is loaned out, who do you think is suitable replacement for him apart from my academy graduates? Honestly, I'm okay with not signing anyone. Teams usually have 4 center backs, right? 2 starters, 2 backups. Our starters are Pau Cubarsí, Lautaro Martinez. Our backups are Christensen and Eric Garcia. By the way, really good backups. And then on top of that, you have Alvaro Cortés. Because, okay, you can argue, Christensen gets injured a lot. Fuck it. Throw him out the window. There's Alvaro Cortés. You still have 4 very reliable, talented center backs. Why do we need a 6th one? We really don't. So I'm okay with not signing anyone. Especially not fucking Natan. But anyways. Sean says, good night, Mo. Did you see the latest Spider-Man movie yet? The Odyssey was really good. Oh, bro. I I have not seen the Odyssey yet, and I have not seen Spider-Man yet, but I'm dying to see both. Dying to see both, especially the Odyssey. More the Odyssey than the Spider-Man, because I'm more of into Greek mythology, historical battle movies, more than Spider-Man and the Avengers and all that. The Royal Pilot says it's 35 million for someone like Castello Doqueba or even Endika. I can understand, but Natan, really? I mean, that was my reaction too. Baggio says this guy, why pronouncing the name that way? Natan. I don't know what you're trying to say. But anyways, Lorenzo says, best news, Ferran, Araujo out. Hope Kunde could follow. Nah, I'm not in favor of Kunde could follow because, look, did Kunde had a terrible season last season? Absolutely. All right, I'm not going to come here and try to make excuses or try to convince you that somehow his season was good because it wasn't. It was trash. But the difference between Ferran, who was never Barca level, who should have never been signed to begin with, but we signed him because, well, we couldn't afford anything better, or Araujo, who has shown us for now more than 2 seasons that he's not Barca level, not because he's not a good center back, but because he doesn't possess the football IQ that a center back, that a Barcelona center back should have. But the difference as opposed to those two is that Kunde has only had this past season that was bad. But before that, he was one of the best right backs in Europe. This World Cup, he also showed us that he is a quality fullback. So he had one bad season. It can happen. It can happen to anyone. So I wouldn't want him out yet. Now, if he has another bad season this upcoming season, then you're like, okay, now we're talking about 2 bad seasons in a row. Then yeah, you need to get him out. But for one bad season, when he's giving you 3-4 good seasons, I think he's in the positive, right? Let's see. Taiwo says, Mo, it's freezing here in New Jersey. Freezing? Is it freezing? I mean, freezing? I don't know. I took my dog out around noon and it was hot. I know it started raining since then, but freezing? Are you sure about that? Carlos says it's the worst thing about Ferran going to PSG is that he will kill it there because that league sucks. He will only need a couple of good games at Champions League. He will become a Ballon d'Or. I don't give a shit what he does at PSG. Look, if we can sell him for 50 million minimum, he can do whatever the hell he wants. I don't care. Let's see. Akib says Anthony Gordon is gonna end up being a superstar signing. I'm manifesting it. I think Anthony Gordon is gonna be a very good signing. I mean, we saw him in the World Cup. His speed, his explosiveness, his speed alone, honestly, he's so fucking fast. But his explosiveness, the way he presses, the way his crosses, the way he can beat defenders, the way he can attack the space. I mean, I think he could be a good signing. But of course, we're gonna have to wait and see, right? I'm gonna have to see what he will do once he arrives. Well, he's already here. Once he plays for Barcelona. Evgeny says, Jordi Pesquer for me was a big surprise. Never heard of him before, and he's only 17. Okay. I felt like that about... Actually, yeah, I do agree. Pesquer did have a really good match. The way he can track players and track the plays, and he anticipates, I was really impressed too. Not to mention, I mean, he looks like freaking Ed Sheeran. Who doesn't want a player that looks like Ed Sheeran? That's a win right there. Brock says, bro, that Barca media guy has been riding the soul out of this Alvarez thing. I'm so glad to see you actually realistic. I'm going to be honest. I do not know who Barca media is. I don't know if I've said this. No, actually, I have said this before. I don't really watch other Barca content creators. Not because of anything, just time limitation. I really don't have time to watch others. So that usually the only people I actually watch and follow are Spanish actually more Catalan reporters, but Spanish reporters who are in Barcelona. And the reason why I do follow them because they're there. They're on the ground. they're the ones to get all the news. They're the ones to report something, and then weeks later, Fabrizio Romano reports it, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, Fabrizio Romano said," and it's like, bro, that's been known for like 3 weeks already. What the fuck are you talking about? And that's the reason, because those reporters who are there on the ground, they can get that information first because they're there, right? If they see the Asian of if an Asian of a player meets with Deco, they're there. They can see it. They're posted out on the airport, outside the airport of El Prat in Barcelona, and they can see when an Asian like flies in and arrives. They know all the hot spots where Deco or Laporta likes to meet people, because they usually always meet at the same restaurants. So they're there, they're posted. So they see when Deco arrives and meets with an Asian or with a player or whatever. So they're the first ones to get the news. So that's the people who I refollow, because they're usually the ones with the first. That's why I'm always able to like talk about things only to be confirmed weeks later by Fabrizio. And everybody's like, Fabrizio. It's like, what the fuck you talking about, bro? We've known about this shit for 2-3 weeks. And not because of me. I'm not like throwing flowers at myself. I'm not like dusting my own shoulders. Not at all. I'm just a guy who reads news and then brings it to you. I'm not a reporter. I'm not there on the ground. I'm not putting in any work. And that's why with my limited time, I end up only having the time to follow those people. So this is why I don't end up following like or watching other Barca news content creators. Not because I think I'm this amazing guy and I don't have time to watch these other guys, but no, it's because I work full time. I do this channel. I train. I have my dog. I have my girlfriend, right? So I have very limited time to watch other people, and I prefer to watch, those reporters who are there on the ground, who do all the work, and I just benefit from their work. But to be honest, no, I don't know who he is, but I'll say this in general, not about Barca Media, because again, I don't know who Barca Media is. But I'll say this in general, and I've noticed this. This exists a lot amongst content creators in general, not just Barca or any field. A lot of times people are scared to say what they truly believe, or they're scared to say or call things out. And the reason for that, because, and this is normal, a lot of people end up fearing more losing subscribers and likes and comments and blah, blah, blah over anything else. So they become very cautious, consciously or subconsciously. They're either doing this on purpose or they're doing it subconsciously, because their fear of losing subscribers or people not watching them anymore. So they become fearful. They become very careful about what they have to say. Luckily, I'm blessed that this is not my full-time work, right? I have a full-time job. I'm a lawyer. That's my job. This for me is more of a hobby. So I don't necessarily have that fear, right? Not that I'm saying that I don't appreciate you guys. Of course I do. I love you guys. I appreciate your support. I appreciate you watching. I appreciate subscribing, liking, commenting. But I don't have that fear where, if I say something, it might upset people and they're not going to watch, and then I'm not going to make money, and then I can't pay my bills. I don't have to worry about that, thank God, right? I'm blessed that I already have a job that pays my bills. So here I can say whatever the fuck I want. And if it happens to upset people, it is what it is, right? For 2 years, I talked about how terrible Xavi was as a coach, and people crucified me for it. People like literally hundreds unfollowed me. Oh, and lo and behold, Xavi Hernandez now starts to follow Victor Font, and now everybody's against him. And it's like, fuck you guys. Like, I've been saying about how bad Xavi is. The only difference is none of you had the fucking balls to say it. And now all of a sudden, when mainstream people are all against them, now you're against them, right? Rafinha, I criticized him for 2 years about how fucking shitty he was. Everybody crucified me for it. And then he becomes good, and then people notice what the difference it is between Rafinha under Flick versus Rafinha under Xavi. And now, because the mainstream thought is, okay, yeah, Rafinha was bad and now he's good, now everybody's saying it. And it's like, fuck you guys, right? So it's like, and that's the problem, right? That's the problem with people always thinking about, what are my subscribers going to think? I don't want to lose subscribers. I got to be careful with what I say. Thankfully, I don't have that problem, right? I call it as it is. And if you agree with me, that's amazing. If it's not, that's okay also. Like, we all have our own opinions. We don't have to think the same way. That's totally okay. And if you feel like someone thinking differently than you means that you can't watch him, you can't listen to him, well, I feel sorry for you, because in life you're gonna come across a lot of different opinions, and if you cannot handle different opinions, that you're gonna struggle in life. As an attorney, I literally come across different and contradictory opinions every single day. Am I gonna lose my shit? No, because that's just life. We're all humans. We all have different upbringings. We were all brought up in different environments, different parents, different friends, different school systems. We all think differently, and that's the beauty of the human race, right? Right. That's what makes this world a tapestry, a beautiful tapestry with different thoughts and different ways to see life. If that upsets you, I don't know what to tell you. But anyways, enough babbling. Let's get back to the news, because we do have to talk about the option B that Barcelona are currently considering in case the Julian Alvarez deal doesn't go through, which is not looking like it. But it's reported that Barcelona are now considering Lautaro Martinez, the 28-year-old Inter Milan center forward, who so far has scored 175 goals in 376 matches for the Serie A clubs. Now, it's reported that both Deco and Hansi Flick are big fans of Lautaro Martinez. He has been linked to Barcelona a million times. I've lost accounts of how many times he's been linked to Barca. And it's reported that now Deco has Lautaro once again on his list as an option B in case Julian doesn't come. Now, Lautaro, of course, might not be as gifted as Julian Alvarez, but of course, he is a classic center forward, right? A poacher, if you want to put it that way. Someone who, if he gets the ball in the box, well, he's most likely going to score. And even if he doesn't get the ball in the box, someone else shoots it, someone else tries it, that Lautaro will be there to get the rebound and push it in. Now, what's the problem with this news is that I see this as highly, highly unlikely, and for two reasons. Number one, Inter Milan have already declared that Lautaro Martinez is not for sale, right? He has a contract with them until 2029, and they consider him, a fundamental piece of their project. This is like, excuse me. Oh, mamma mia. They consider him a fundamental piece of their project. This is like Cubarsí or Lamine or Pedri to us, right? And those are players that are just not for sale. They're never going to be for sale. This is how Lautaro Martinez is for Inter Milan. Even when we reached an agreement with Bastoni, right? The news came out saying that Bastoni initially was not for sale, but then Inter Milan decided that they needed to raise cash, and then one of the players that were open to selling was Bastoni, but that Lautaro was not, even though they needed to raise cash. So that's one big problem in the whole equation. The other problem is that Lautaro himself has said that he's happy at Inter Milan. His wife, his kids, they're all happy living in Milan or Milano. So neither the player nor the club are willing to part ways. So, of course, where does this leave us? This leaves us at this just being someone as part of the wish list. Now, can things change? Can maybe Barcelona convince Lautaro that, hey, playing at Barca is obviously a lot more exciting than playing at Inter Milan, and that playing in La Liga is more exciting than playing in Serie A? Sure, it is possible. But at this point, as of today, August 10th, 2026, I just don't see this operation as feasible at all, because, again, Inter Milan not considering the sale of the player. The player is happy at Inter Milan, so I just don't see this happening. Not to mention, and this is going to be a very controversial take, and I know a lot of people are going to be upset. I'm honestly one of the people who think that Lautaro is a little bit overhyped. And I say this because, do you guys remember 2022 World Cup? Not only did Julian, who's not an actual center forward, take his position, but Lautaro had a Ferran Torres kind of World Cup. I mean, in the final, when he comes off the bench, he missed two clear chances in front of goal. One of them, he headed it like by himself. He gets a cross in front of in front of goal, he heads it like he hits it so far from the goal. You're like, bro, are you blind? Did you hit your head? What the fuck happened? I'm one of the people who actually thinks he's completely overhyped. Even in this World Cup, he finally scored, and I think it was from a penalty kick. He had 2 goals. I'm not a fan, to be honest. I think he's another Ferran Torres. Sure, he's great in a Serie A, but it's the fucking Serie A. Okay, with all due respect to the Serie A, it's not the same league as it was in the early 2000s. I think I've seen him miss more than actually score with Argentina. And I don't think he's worth the 85 million euro market value that he has. I've seen him miss some really insane shots where you're like, how the fuck, how are you worth that much? But anyways, that's controversial take. I personally would not sign Lautaro. Now, would Lautaro be a better option than not having anyone? Absolutely. Would Lautaro be a better option than Ferran? Absolutely. Would this be my main objective? Fuck no. But again, what do I know? I'm just a crazy guy screaming at his camera. All right, let me know what you guys think. Let's do some comments, and then we'll end this. Let me see. Oh, my goodness. Almost choked. All right, here we go. Boozoo says Madrid didn't want to sell him after the World Cup because he might have won the World Cup and increased his value tremendously. Who we talking about? Hen David says, do you have any news on Rodri? No news yet. The deadline is Wednesday. That's when everybody wants to finalize it. So hopefully tomorrow we'll wake up to some good news. Irish Coulee says, hi Mo, love the channel. Did you see that the reports about Julian getting angry about no one meeting him today? I did see them, but I don't know if they're true, because I imagine Julian already knew that the team was in South Korea. They were flying. I think they landed in Spain at 1 a.m. There obviously nobody was going to be there. So I don't know how true they are, but either way. Jeffrey says, Mo, have you had the chance to look at the Mexican forward Quiñones or USA forward Balogun, who impressed during the World Cup tournament? I think one of them would be a good option for Barca. I mean, look, Quiñones plays in Saudi for a reason. Did he do good for Mexico? Yes. But is he Barca level? No. The guy's 27 years old. He's in his prime and isn't playing Saudi. I think that should tell you enough. Balogun. I like Balogun. I think he's an amazing forward for the U.S. Would I want him at Barca? I don't think he's Remember, the center forward position is such a sensitive position. It's a position where you need, for a team like Barca, not for any other team, but for a team like Barca, like Madrid, like Arsenal, like Liverpool, like Bayern, you need someone in a number 9. In other words, a club that aspires to win everything. You need someone who can put up at least 30 goals a season. Do I like Balogun? Yes. Do I think he's capable of that? No. Blaurana X says, maybe you should give Assassin's Creed Odyssey a shot. It's a video game. Very cool. I love Assassin's Creed. I was a huge fan of Assassin's Creed. I haven't played video games in like over a year, but I do love Assassin's Creed, so I'm definitely going to download it. Let's see. Nike says, Mo and Talk FCB are my go-to for news because both keep it realistic. I appreciate you, my friend. I appreciate you. I think I watched like maybe 1 or 2 videos of Talk FCB. I really like his style. But again, it's just not a channel that I follow regularly. Not because of anything. It's just I just don't really have the time. Jose Fernandez says, Mo, Dro went to PSG and became invisible, and Barca keep producing wonder kids. Yeah, he really did. He really did. But don't tell Ferran. Ferran, if you're watching, Dro just became a superstar thanks to his move to PSG. So you should definitely move to PSG because you too are going to become a superstar, a bigger superstar than what you already are. So Ferran, if you're watching, PSG, bro, that's where it's at. You got to go there. You got to go there. The Jeff says, Mo, Barca media guy doesn't lie as that guy portrayed. All he does is being hopeful with San Alvarez. He has similar sources to you from the info he usually brings out. All right. That's cool. That's cool. Tony says, nah, Mo, we had to call you out on the Rafinha thing. Friend, keep friend account. Nah, bro. You're not going to convince me that Rafinha was Barca worthy. Barca worthy the first 2 seasons. Because he wasn't. He wasn't. Rafinha was trash the first 2 seasons. And you're not going to convince me otherwise. Under Flick, the first season, amazing. One of the best players in the world. If he would have won the Ballon d'Or, I would have said 100% deserved it. It's unfortunate that he didn't win it, but it was an amazing season. Last season, high and cold. High and cold. He had some good performances. He had some bad performances. But we're gonna chuck it out to injuries. Because he was injured at the beginning of the season. He was injured at the end of the season. So we're gonna blame it on that. But to tell me that Rafinha had 2 good seasons under Xavi, no fucking way. He was trash. He was. Like, you cannot convince me otherwise. His 3rd season, which was under Flake, amazing. Last season, whatever. But anyways, Davinia says, Lautaro, how much money? We're desperate for classic center forward, yet we have really need to shore up the defense. No, we don't need to shore up the defense. We need people who can score, who can make up those 30 minimum goals guaranteed that Lewandowski would give you. Simeon James says, if Barca, or is it Simone? Simeon? If Barca is willing to pay Rodri 30 million euro for a player we don't need, why can't they do for Osimhen for a position we need? Because Barcelona are not too convinced with the Osimhen option. They're not convinced with the fact that he's a hothead and he's always fighting his teammates and others. And like I said before, I know people are always like, oh, Barca's stupid. They're not considering Osimhen. But have you noticed that no one else is either? Which begs the question, why? It's clearly not a talent thing. He's incredibly talented. He has better numbers than most elite strikers in Europe. And yet, summer of 2024, nobody wanted him. He ends up on loan with Galatasaray. Summer 2025, no one wanted him. He ends up on a permanent transfer to Galatasaray. Summer 2026, still no one wants him except Tottenham Hotspur, and they're not even willing to pay his full fee. Is Barcelona really stupid? Or are these clubs noticing something that most of us are not noticing? Davinia says, and after his attitude following the World Cup, he'd better off staying away from Barcelona. Yes, it's an issue that goes beyond sports. Oh, okay. You talk about Ferran. Got it. Barca Reloaded says Lautaro is cheeks. And DJ Callan Music says, excuse me, we wasted 80 mil on a player we did need. Now we can sign a player we need. Club never learns. That we didn't need? Is that what you meant? That we spent 80 million on a player we didn't need? I don't know. Anyways, JK says, what about the 120 million release clause on Alvarez that were allowed for Barca only? Supposedly it was 150. I call bullshit. But either way, I don't think we should pay 150 for Julian. Suleiman says, hello, Mo. Why can't people understand that Barca doesn't want Osimhen? Plus, someone should please do something to Atletico Madrid. They're after our lives. What the hell? Like, we don't need to do anything to them except beat them on the field like we always fucking do. Atletico Madrid have they've forgotten their place in this world. And I think because Apollo spent a lot of money on acquiring them and did a huge cash injection, they all of a sudden started thinking that they're a big club. They need to understand that they're not. They're a small club that wins a trophy every once in a decade. And they need to remember that. And they might celebrate that they beat us in the Champions League and the Copa del Rey. But at the end of the day, they still ended up trophyless. So if your biggest achievement is beating us, and yet you still have no trophies, then that just goes to show how small of a club you are. So there's nothing we need to do except keep beating them on the field and keep reminding them that they are a small club and that it doesn't matter how much money injection they get. At the end of the day, they're still a small club. But anyways, that is all, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning in. You guys are absolutely freaking amazing. Sorry about the hiccup at the beginning of the podcast. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment. I will see you guys in tomorrow's videos. And as always, peace, guys.